Hi everyone, I've got another miniature here for you now with Konstantin Landa against Evgeny Shaposhnikov, which was played in the Russian Team Championships at Sochi in 2005. Both players are strong Russian GMs, ranked well over 2500 when this was played. So to get into the game anyway, the opening was a Caro-Kann with e4, c6, d4, d5, knight c3, d takes e4, knight takes c4, bishop f5, which is one of the main lines of the Caro-Kann, and this is all regular opening stuff. Knight g3, bishop g6, and h4 with a threat on this bishop, so h6 is the correct response. Knight f3, knight d7, h5, attacking the bishop, so bishop h7, bishop d3, bishop takes d3, and queen takes d3, which is all main line. And at this point black has a few options. Shaposhnikov played e6, which is the most popular at top level. Other options are knight gf6 and queen c7. So e6, and then came bishop f4, queen to a5 check, bishop d2, bishop b4. And the point of playing this is to encourage the slightly weakening c3 from white. And then the bishop just retreats with the bishop e7. And then c4 and queen a6 was played in the game, which probably isn't the best square for the queen, although it's pinning the c pawn here because the queen would be on pre. The black queen is almost completely out of the game, and it'll prove important later on when white launches a violent attack. More often here queen c7 is played, and the queen is just more in the game, and it's not restricting the pawns, and just a more active square. So queen a6 anyway. Then white castled, and black played rook d8, then came b4, knight gf6, a4 with good queenside expansion, and b6 from Shaposhnikov, which is really too slow and a bit passive. Like, it might well have been better here just to castle, or at least play something more active, like for example queen b6, and again the queen would have more options and just be a bit more involved in the game. But anyway, he played b6, and then came rook fe1, and black castled, and then knight f5 came, which is exploiting the fact that the bishop on e7 is unprotected. If black were to capture the knight, his pawn structure would be damaged, and white will have a dangerous rook on the 7th rank. So for example, e takes f5 and rook takes e7, and it's better for white, at least a slight advantage. Okay, so rook fe8 was played, after that protecting the bishop. And now white played one of two sacrifices that occur fairly frequently in the Caro-Kann, and both of which occurred in this game, and they're good to know because it leads to some fierce attacking lines, as you'll see. The first one was knight takes g7, and black accepted the sacrifice with king takes g7, and it's really best to, like, if he declines it, say with example bishop f8, then simply knight takes d8 is very good for white purely in terms of material, and his position is strong too. So the sack was accepted with king takes g7, and then came the second thematic sacrifice that that occurs frequently in Caro-Kann games, with rook takes e6. And it's pretty important to note here that usually this sack comes first, and then the knight sack. The position in this particular game allowed Landa to change the order around, but if you're ever playing these sacrifices yourself, then it's almost always better to sack the rook first, because after the rook's taken, then there's a check straight away, and having the knight here would have been much stronger when the queen comes in with check. But anyway, Landa saw that after f takes e6, which was a blunder from black, because now Landa had seen that he's got a mate in 8 moves, and it's completely forced. There's nothing black can do about it, fairly incredibly. But even if he declined the rook, say for example with bishop f8, then rook takes c6, queen b7, attacking the rook, b5, king g8, and black isn't going to be mated, but white still has 3 pawns for his knight and a strong position, so he would really have the advantage there anyway, even if the sacrifice had been declined. But anyway, it was accepted, and like I said, it's a forced mate now. And after the rook was taken came yet another sacrifice with bishop takes h6 check, although this isn't really a true sacrifice, since if black takes it then it's mate. So he played king h8, and then came a crucial move for the combination to work, which was bishop to g7 check, and without this there would be no mating attack. So it might have been something that Shaposhnikov didn't see and thought he would maybe be able to consolidate, but after this is, well, it was completely forced before, but this is the forcing line. And black played king takes g7. If he doesn't accept it, say with king g8, then queen g6, and it's mating. After knight f8, attacking the queen, bishop takes f8 with discovered check, king takes f8, knight e5, and black can do nothing to defend f7, so say for example rook takes d4 and queen f7 is mate. So after bishop to g7 check came king takes g7, and after queen to g6 check, black resigned because he could see that it was mate in 5 moves. I'll just go through that now just so you can see. Say for example king h8 and then knight g5 with strong threats like knight to f7, which would be mate. So knight e5 stops that, but you know, the knight's on pre. Like, this is just black putting up as much resistance as he can in order to stop the mate. And then rook f8 to stop the same threat again, and e takes f6. And now the only way that black can stop the mate is just by checking. It's crazy. Okay, so rook takes d1 and bishop takes f6 and queen h7 is mate. So that's it. A brilliant game from Konstantin Landa. It's mate in, well, it would have been mate in 29 moves, but Shaposhnikov resigned after 24, so it was a miniature. And I'll replay it just with the threatened squares highlighted so you can see it from start to finish. Very strong attack from white there in the Caro-Kann triple sacrifice. So yeah, someone you've really got to look out for. I mean, the Caro-Kann is renowned for being solid, but if you don't know these sacrificial lines, then as you saw, you can be pretty easily embarrassed. Yeah, and it wasn't really wise of black to leave his queen on a6 here in a second, because it just stays completely out of the game. If it hadn't moved in the first place, if it had just stayed on d8, then it would have been able to play a defensive role, and you know, there would have been a gain of tempo because the queen wouldn't have moved. But as it was now, as you saw, you know, look at the queen there, it's completely out of the game, can't help in the least, and white just gets a crushing attack. And it's noticeable here especially that f7 and h7 were undefended, and Landa probably saw that, you know, when he was working out the combination, and that's what makes this attack so lethal, with mate there on h7. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.